If I drive for you,
You give me a time and a place. I give you a 5-minute window.
anything happens in that 5 minutes and I'm yours, no matter what. I don't sit in while you're running it down. I don't carry a gun. I drive.
The story of Drive has an almost biblical simplicity to it. You have a getaway driver with a code. That getaway driver with a code meets a girl, and he breaks the code in order to save her. Everything goes wrong, and he kills everybody. In a lot of ways, it's the oldest story in the book. A man falls in love, and then the trouble starts.
You tell me where we start, where we're going afterwards. I give you 5 minutes when we get there.
You look like you're hard to work with.
Not if we understand each other.
What's to understand?
He's a stunt driver, so he's skilled at driving, perhaps uniquely skilled. He also applies those skills to a getaway driver for petty crimes. He has very strict rules about what he will and won't do. He says very little.
You all right?
And yet there's always something going on inside that you're always interested as to what that might be.
You got something fucking belongs to me?
Seems that way.
You expect me to buy my own shit back from you?
He's got this mystery to him. He doesn't give himself away very often or very willingly. It makes him amazingly interesting to watch.
I'm gonna give you a time and a place, and you're gonna come and get it. Do you understand?
The thing I like best about the character of Driver was that he was very good at one thing and made no apologies for it. He was a man with a code, and the book was about the difference between legal and illegal and right and wrong. And this was a character who was only concerned really with right and wrong. So the idea of that very masculine code felt like something that hadn't been explored in movies in a long time. I remembered it from movies like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Bullet, some of the classics of cinema, and it felt like something we had kind of left behind.
You Shannon's buddy, right? We met last year.
And it makes for a perfect choice for this character who's more mysterious and says less than he says more. I mean, he's the quintessential rugged American, the loner, the drifter, doesn't really care if he has any friends.
How about this? Shut your mouth, or I'll kick your teeth down your throat and I'll shut it for you.
I think Nicholas has a very specific voice and a specific cinematic language that he can apply to different tones and different genres. He, interestingly enough, is an individual who doesn't drive a car, which, by the way, neither does Hassamini. And I thought there was some cosmic irony in the fact the director and writer both don't drive, and yet they've devoted themselves to telling a story about a driver. Nicholas has an ability, first of all, to explore worlds through the eyes of characters. He also has a wonderful way of creating tension within scenes, and the world of Drive is just infused with tension from moment to moment. I felt that that sensibility was exactly what I was looking for.
Nicholas Winding Refn wasn't just a good choice for this movie, he was the only choice. Nicholas has a visceral, muscular quality to his filmmaking and understanding of myth that really lent itself perfectly to this. While he's a very visual filmmaker, he comes completely from a place of character. And he got underneath every character in the screenplay and questioned every move. And he wanted to know if it made sense, and he wanted to know if it made emotional sense. And part of the process that Nicholas Refn does is he has each actor come to his house, and they just talk about their characters.
We had a rehearsal period that went on for a number of days before the movie started. And a lot of what Nicholas likes to do is to sort of take apart the script and find out what works and what doesn't. And he likes to set it in a rehearsal period. So when you get there, you know, you're not just like, what am I gonna say today?
My hands are a little dirty.
So am I.
It's pretty amazing. It's completely unique. I've never had an experience like this. You know, for instance, so the night before, I'll say, oh, I'm not sure about this scene. And so he's like, you know, well, figure it out, change it, you know, come in with some ideas. So I come in with some ideas, and it's like, great, let's shoot it. So he'll shoot the master, and it'll be terrible, of course. And then he'll say to the crew, all right, take 5, guys. And he'll literally sit there for an hour with whoever's in the scene. And we'll talk for literally an hour to 2 hours while the crew takes 5.
Toast to the future.
So you never walk away at the end of the day feeling like you haven't really played the scene properly. And he's really, really actor-centric. He's so good at giving notes and so good at sort of calming you down and getting rid of your kind of actor tics, and like he's a sort of very kind of calming influence, and also, you know, makes you really honest.
Kid, I want you to meet Mr. Bernie Rose.
My husband's coming home.
Where is he?
He's in prison.
There's some guys that want me to do a job for them, and I'm not gonna do it.
What's the job? Did you have any idea there'd be a second car? Whose money do I have?
You should have taken the money and left the guy alone.
They're gonna come looking for me, and they're gonna come for you. Do you understand? You gotta get out of here, and you gotta get out now.
What are you gonna do?
The first time I read the novel, it was such a sort of rare book to get sent, you know, from a studio. It was very short, it was very dark. It was almost more like a poem, and it had this very, very tiny subplot of a getaway driver getting involved in a bank robbery that gets, you know, goes wrong, and then the mafia coming after him. But that was a tiny part of it. There was so much more character stuff around that.
He has a lot invested in you, and so do I. So anything you need, you call me. We're a team now.
What was exciting was to be able to sort of have the space in a screenplay to sort of explore the characters and take these wonderful characters that he'd created and sort of invent subplots and relationships, you know, between characters that were not in the book.
We were very fortunate just to attract a fantastic cast. So everywhere you turn, there's a compelling character, and they're all acting with a consistent tone, thanks to the direction of Nicholas. And they feel like people inhabiting a world, sort of a part of Los Angeles perhaps we haven't seen or don't know, but it feels vivid and real.
Mostly I work at a garage.
Where?
Reseda Boulevard.
I liked that he wasn't ambitious. I liked that he didn't have a goal, because so many movie heroes have to have a goal and an idea of where they want to end up, and a dream and an ambition, and we toyed with that. But I ended up loving the fact that he doesn't have any of those things. The people around him, all these other characters, have an idea of where they want to be, but he doesn't. He sort of lives and breathes, you know, it's by the second, and there's no game plan, there's no long term. It's all those sort of, you know, things about his character sort of make him a very good center, I think, for the, you know, for everyone else almost to sort of revolve around.
Hey, there you are. She's down there.
When I first read Drive, the role of Shannon was almost like Burgess Meredith in Rocky, you know. Come on, Rock, you can do it, come on, kid, you know. And while there's still some of that element of mentor-protege relationship with my character and the driver, Nicholas was amazing in his collaboration. In fact, insisted on it, make it your own. And because of that openness, you go home and you start daydreaming about the character, and I'd wake up in the morning and I go, oh, I have a couple more ideas I want to pitch. And so I was pitching to him different thoughts and ideas, and they stuck, and he was welcoming them.
Shannon, sell him the cars.
He wouldn't be able to find pussy in a whorehouse.
So he has some big dreams, and some are realized, but it's not enough. He's always, you know, tinkering and thinking, what's his next move? And he talks too much.
So I hire him on the spot. Boom.
He just kind of yaps a lot, which is a nice contrast to Driver's mostly silent approach to things.
So I offered your services to take Benicio and Irene home. That'd be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
When we were working on the screenplay, we never imagined Carey Mulligan would play the role of Irene. Carey was a big fan of our director's, Nicholas Winding Refn, and she called up and she said, I want to talk to him about why I think I should be in this film. And when Nicholas sat down with her, he absolutely knew, and it really reshaped the film.
I wanted to work with someone like Nicholas Winding Refn, and also the idea of working with Ryan that made me kind of go after it, because the original script was written for sort of a Latina woman. She was slightly older, so it sort of meant going in sort of bargaining to have it rewritten.
Sorry if I put you on the spot showing up like that.
It's okay.
In pre-production, I spent 2 or 3 days with Huss, and we went through the script and figured out where she came from, what she did, how long she'd been with Standard. My whole backstory, really, I did with Huss. And that was really what we had to do. We had to change her from this Latina woman, and that sort of, you know, the culture of the whole family was very different. And so we had to rewrite that, and so that she could be a bit younger and figure out how that all happened and what that was like being married at like 17. And then started, you know, bringing other characters into the conversation.
You know, we're here celebrating, but it's a shameful thing, what I did. And I have a lot of making up to do to everyone. When I sat and talked with Nicolas, he really kind of painted the whole picture for me. I had read the script and I thought it was really cool, it was interesting, but I did have a lot of questions about it, particularly with my character. You know, things weren't quite as specific as maybe I'd hoped they would be. And as soon as I sat down with Nicolas, he just explained to me the universe and the world of it, and actually left a lot of it up to me.
The fuck are you gonna do? You gonna go beat him up for me? Nice stunt guy? Why the fuck do you want to know who they are?
Oscar came in and literally blew everybody away. Nobody, because you know, I'd never worked with Oscar, and I didn't know, you know, this character was sort of not the guy really on the page that you really care that much about. You know, he gets into trouble and then he goes away and you sort of accept it. But Oscar came in and started playing Standard, and you feel so much empathy for him.
Then we started talking about it. What if he's someone that just made some wrong decisions in his life and ended up in a bad place? And we ended up finding that story much more compelling. It's definitely been one of the most collaborative experiences I've ever had on a film.
I can't do this thing alone.
You got Blanche.
Come on, man.
She's beautiful. Look at her.
I would say this is different from what I've been doing all year long, and a fun character just to do something completely different. And I just thought it was a fantastic script.
You know what? Get the fuck out of here. Get up. Standard, take her with you and go get her a fucking Coke.
He said there would be another car to hold us up. But he didn't say anything about all this money, and he didn't say anything about anyone getting killed.
Her involvement with these guys wasn't even supposed to truly happen. And the next thing you know, I mean, everything's gone wrong, and here she is with Driver, and much more involved than she ever thought she would be.
The whole notion of the heist that goes wrong was, I mean, you've seen it in lots of movies, but what was interesting about it in the book was certainly the way we developed the script with Mark and Adam as well, before anyone even came on, was how does it affect all the different characters? And it was one of those heists gone wrong that seemed to have, you know, lots of offshoots. Everyone is affected, so you introduce these characters in the first sort of act, and then the heist doesn't just affect Driver. Everyone is suddenly brought in together and into this sort of explosion, and it's just a very simple mess up, really has these huge repercussions.
So you stole from the East Coast mob?
No, I stole from some jumped up punk.
He's not a villain. It's a guy who's spent his life dealing in legal to illegal situations, depending on how he wants to make his money. But he's pushed into a corner in this movie.
You know, I owe you this guy. Just give me a little time and I'll get rid of him.
Shut the fuck up, you fucking monkey.
When push comes to shove, it's his life or someone else's. So he's reacting like a caged animal. He doesn't act like this all the time, but you don't want to mess with him. It gives me something that I never played before, which is a guy you really don't want to fool around with. And it gives me a chance to find a look, and let's just say I've never killed anyone in a movie before.
You pay 300 fucking grand for this piece of shit? I was like a huge fan of his from the moment the world discovered him. So to work with Albert is hard to put into words what a treat that is.
It's the inside that counts, not the outside, right, Shannon?
You are correct, sir.
Fuck that shit. I pay 300 for something I want everybody to fucking see.
Of course you do.
They sort of have always been in business together. They remind me of George and Lenny in Of Mice and Men. I'm gonna tell you something.
I was so thrilled that, you know, Ron and Albert were sort of interested, and then again, sitting down with them to go over the script, they improved their parts just enormously, because, you know, they're both brilliant actors.
Yeah, I'm 59 years old, Bernie. They still pinch my cheek like I'm some fucking kid.
When I first was given the script, one never quite knew who he was, where he came from, what he did. And Nicolas was determined to put some flesh on the bones and to give this guy a past.
I'm just fucking with you. How you doing, Shannon? How's the fucking leg?
Little by little, Nino got more discovered and took a more prominent place in the storytelling and became easier to play.
That's why this driver's gotta go, Bernie. He's gotta go.
What do you say we meet?
Why?
Well, you, me, and your girlfriend are the only players left. How's that for a reason?
This is one of the things, if you do a movie, you get thrown in a pot with all these other actors. I equate it to like a great tennis game. These are just the people who are among the best in their field. So it makes you better. You hit the ball as hard as you can, they hit it back.
Here's what I'm prepared to offer. You give me the money, the girl is safe. Forever. Nobody knows about her. She's off the map.
It's been great fun for me because each actor kind of realizes that their character needs their own story, and sometimes when you're writing, you know, the plot becomes important, or you know, certain characters are there purely to serve a function, and then when you sort of trust the actors and the director, I think, you know, they just make you look good if it works.
Any dreams you have, or plans, or hopes for your future, I think you're gonna have to put that on hold. For the rest of your life, you're gonna be looking over your shoulder.
The relationship between Driver and Irene in this movie is a love story pared down to its bare essentials. It's free of all the fluff that gets in the way of other Hollywood movies. Driver sees her, and there's a connection, and they begin to spend some time together.
On floor?
Fourth, thanks. He moves into the building that she lives in, and we imagine by that point that her husband, Standard, had been in prison for about 6 months. And not really for doing anything particularly terrible, just, you know, he got caught up in some one bad thing. And he's a good guy. So about 6 months after he goes away, this new guy moves into the building. And they sort of have those things where you see each other and you kind of make eye contact, and it has a bit of an impact on you, but you kind of dismiss it.
And action, Ryan.
I think she's trying to sort of keep focused on the fact that she's, you know, this is her family. And her car breaks down, and he offers to help. And so from then on, it's sort of this relationship forms.
You want a glass of water?
Okay.
I love the fact that there was something sort of they want to so badly, but it's so repressed from both of them and can't behave how they want to behave. The relationship with Irene started off with this place of resistance. He senses, I think, that this could take him out of his comfort zone, and this could be a threat to the box he's created around himself.
Hey, do you want to see something?
Yeah.
The initial scenes, it was about him resisting and avoiding her, and she almost makes him human for a very brief moment in you know, the course of our story, which is that through her and through the relationship with Benicio, there is a normality.
Driver and Irene fall in love, but it's not in the sort of conventional sense. There's nothing ever sort of physical, and nothing's ever said, and nothing's ever done. I mean, they're both like respectful, but there's sort of an undeniable thing that's happened, and it's completely sort of innocent, really, and pure. But you know, she has fallen in love with somebody else.
That was good. You had a good time.
And when she finds out Standard's getting out of prison early, you know, it's a kind of blow, because she had this time with Driver on her own, and now she doesn't have it. But at the same time, the father of her child is coming back, and she should be happy.
So I want to make a toast to that lady right there. I love you, Rennie.
Nicholas Winding Refn, the director, has always described it as a fairy tale. It's the knight sees a damsel in distress. Sometimes that happens in the world. But as happens in fairy tales, the evil prince comes home. And now, what are you going to do? Which creates a dilemma for everybody. Because, you know, the prince wants his princess, but she's also in trouble. What does Driver do? Irene is torn between two men, and all of a sudden you have the makings of great drama.
This guy's been telling me a lot about you. Says you've been coming around helping out a lot. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Driver and Irene have already started getting close, and so he kind of comes in and puts a stop to that.
Well, my name is Standard Gabriel. And what did you say?
I said, where's the deluxe version?
The problem is that he's got a lot of baggage that he's accumulated while in prison. All this madness ensues because of that. It's kind of what sets the whole plot in motion.
Can I talk to you for a minute?
The thing that surprises her and hurts her the most really is that Driver was involved, and sort of the biggest pain is that for the 2 days after it happens, or the day and a half after it happens, she can't find him, and she's so used to being able to just go to him for everything.
I still got the money. You could take Benicio.
And so when he comes clean and he offers her the money and says that he was involved, it's like he's been ripped out of her world. He's not the sort of knight in shining armor, or the, you know, the hero or the perfect man that she thought he was. And you know, he's complicit, and it's tainted, and everything that they had, which she thought was so sort of pure, is just destroyed.
Action!
Ah, that's what we need. A ray of sunshine on a rainy day. Hey, kid, give us a hand here for a second.
Ryan's sort of, he has this like incredible nobility. He judges everything correctly, and there's like a stillness to what he does, and so you feel really calm like around him. I think that's the effect that he has on Irene, and that's what Ryan sort of instills in it. You feel just really serene, and he makes you feel really happy. He's sort of got this, at least around her, kind of inner peace, and so that's really appealing. I think that's why they, you know, we always joke because we fall into these like really long, we cut out all the dialogue and just stare at each other, but that's sort of what their relationship is. It's more about sort of stopping for a minute.
But I just want you to know, getting to be around you and Benicio was the best thing that ever happened to me.
It's just fun to write. The subtext is telling you the story rather than what they're telling you. And this was one of those stories that really gave you that possibility, and it's, you know, I think the idea of, you know, being able to write a silent movie as close to a silent movie as you can is actually great fun.